All right, hi everyone. We have head coach Curt Miller here. We're going to hold for an opening statement and then move to questions in the room, and then if we have time, move to Zoom.
Big response by our team and the starting group that really set the tone early with the aggressiveness at both ends of the floor. We've talked this entire time how this is going to be a points in the paint series for us, and that was an impressive performance of points in the paint. And I guess so much for Messi. That wasn't Messi. And a huge win now, sending it back to Chicago for Game 5.
We'll start with Lila up front.
Curt, as you just mentioned, if a game wasn't messy, just what does it say about your group that you guys were able to, come into an elimination game and win, in their style of play?
Yeah, all the credit to the players, how determined they were. As we talk, Game 1 and 3 defensively were Chicago's lowest point total since early June. That's 33 games. And, we felt deflated after Game 3 that we did so well defensively and couldn't get to the finish line. So incredible heart and determination by our players to do what they're capable of. That's all them tonight. Just heart and effort and incredible focus throughout the entire game.
And it seemed like there was a lot more offensive, movement for you guys, especially off the ball with cutting and things like that. Just what did you see of that and like of that from the team tonight?
Yeah, I thought Courtney Williams really set the tone with off-ball movement, and we talked about, we got asked in the pregame about what's the balance? Is there action on the backside and how much they're trying to congest the paint? And that movement really helped us tonight. But again, we have to have paint touches, and record-breaking night for us.
Hey, Curt. In terms of what you got from Courtney, how much of that is changing what you're asking of her? How much of that was what the defense made possible tonight, and you guys taking advantage of that?
Yeah, I think, it's always a little both, but, Courtney was incredibly active without the ball tonight, was aggressive looking for what she does. That's a Courtney Williams that WNBA fans and us have come to appreciate through the years. And, she made a lot of that happen by just playing and taking what the defense gave us. And, again, they were sending still a lot of bodies at times to JJ and people in the paint. But, to Courtney's credit, so much activity off the ball. And
just related to that, with JJ, the numbers are not very different than they were in Game 3, but it seemed like on the court you saw a very different JJ. Just take me through what you saw from her tonight.
Yeah, I thought she was very aggressive with catches. She, set the tone with her aggressiveness of wanting the basketball, and I thought, set the tone that way. So, and then she was unselfish. I thought at times she was almost too unselfish out of some congestion, and I thought she could take some shots. But, really pleased with how she played tonight. Her activity, her aggressiveness was impressive.
Howdy, Curt. Game 3, you talked about how they beat you at your style. Tonight, you kind of beat them at their style. Tactically, did you change anything around offensively, or is it just a case of, shots went in?
Subtle, but, honestly, it was players. You can have me up here for half an hour, and that was players making plays. That was players with a determination that they were going to go out, prove it to themselves, but prove it to everybody else that we were going to send this back to Chicago.
As a quick follow-up, the coach and you was trying to push a team. Given that they beat you in their style, and beat them tonight on the offense. As a coach, you just sort of go, okay, sure.
It's what, again, it's chalk right now, right? There's 4 incredible teams playing. All can win a championship with different ways and different styles. And again, it's razor thin in this league. It's razor thin, the difference between winning and losing. And it can flip in a second. So we're both going to have, hopefully, smooth travels to Chicago with a quick turnaround and do our best to be ready for a great Game 5 on Thursday.
Doug, go ahead.
Curt, to follow up on Ned's question, I mean, do you try to go back to messy now, or do you go, hey, we can play that style and things work pretty well tonight? How do you, as a coach, go into Game 5?
Well, again, Messi's what we want to talk about at the defensive end. How, I thought we had a chance to keep him under 80 again late. When you look up and it's like, are we going to keep him 3 out of 4 games, under 80? That's the messy part. We've just got to try to keep them there. Even scoring 80 tonight, there were stretches where, they were moving, cutting, free flowing, and they're hard to guard when they get in those modes. That's where we have to make it messy. We have to make it messy at the defensive end, and then can we play like this? Can we play with efficiency at the offensive end? I don't necessarily want to be messy at the offensive end. It's all at the defensive end.
And the follow-up is just, you guys went on the road to get out of the first round when you beat Dallas. I know you beat them Game 1 in Chicago, but how much do you draw on that to, hey, we've done this before, we can do it again?
Yeah, I think obviously home court and crowds play factor, but again, it's going to come down to who plays better for 2 hours on Thursday, and we've won some tough road games. We feel like we have a team that grinds and has grit, and I feel that's the kind of toughness you need to pull off a road win in a big game.
Annie?
Curt, this team has talked a lot about being close, but not close enough to win that title. How much is that pushing this team in both tonight and as you guys head to Game 5?
Yeah, I mean, we don't dwell on it. We don't get consumed by it, but we know championship windows close, and we have a veteran crew that knows that our window's open right now, and but it's not going to be open forever. And this is the 4th straight semifinal, and we've been really close. So we're going to give it our best shot, but there's no added pressure. It is what it is. Honest talk that you're not always in windows with championship caliber teams, and we feel like we have one.
Anything about the momentum you guys are feeling right now that's different from the past 3 seasons at all?
It's all different, I just want to get to Chicago safely tomorrow and prepare like crazy.
Alexa, go ahead.
Curt, Courtney hasn't necessarily had the sort of postseason performance leading up to tonight that maybe y'all would have wanted from her, and I'm just curious how you kind of walked her through asking more from her, but also trying to make sure you're all getting the best out of her, so that wasn't maybe more of like a confidence boost, if anything. Any conversations or just putting her in the best positions to succeed, and how that can also go into Game 5 on Thursday?
At this time of the year, again, have me up here half an hour, I'm going to tell you it's those players that made all the changes. It was the players that gave a lot of peer talk and, had conversations about they got to be themselves. Courtney was herself tonight.
Just going off that, Curt, it feels like all season, and even in these playoffs, anytime you get a big game from Dwyane or Courtney, it seems real tough to beat you guys, considering how dominant the front court usually is. In that way, do players like Dwyane and Courtney kind of feel like an X factor where you feel really good about getting a win if you get a big game from even one of them?
Yeah, without question. With 3 all-star posts, that's how we're built. Our wings, we've pivoted from the beginning of the season without the veteran point guard. So, when we get good games out of DB and Courtney, it gives us a great opportunity to pull off wins.
Okay, we're going to go on Zoom. We'll start with Mark.
Hey, Curt. Eugenia was really huge tonight coming in off the bench, especially attacking off second side and what she did defensively. I was wondering, what you really liked and thought that stood out from her tonight.
Energy. She's a big spark for us. She's fearless. She's competitive. She's confident. And, she has an athletic gift to her game. And when you constantly have to chase Kalia around and Rebecca around, and then how smart and savvy Quigley is, she's really a really important spark and factor off the bench.
Thanks, Mark. We'll go to Rafiq next.
This is Rafiq with Nothing But That Sports Talk. How do you feel about this overall performance going in, and how do you plan to maintain that going into Game 5?
Yeah, if we could bottle it, it would be easy to coach. But, we're going to enjoy it tonight. We're going to pull out early in the morning. We're going to get to Chicago. We'll get into the film session and prepare and put together the game plan for Game 5. But, again, these pros know you're never too high, you're never too low. And, that's the life in athletics. You just ride the highs and lows, and you try to find the middle ground. And we are going to really enjoy what we did well tonight, but we know Thursday's a totally different game.
Okay, we're
Appreciate
going
the
to go
insight. Good luck.
Jackie Powell on Zoom, and then we're going to have one last question in the room.
Hey, Curt. Congratulations on the win. I'm curious if you can talk to me about the type of, you said it was the players who gave peer talk. So what sort of did you notice from your players? And I'm curious as to the type of involvement that Jasmine Thomas had to sort of help this group move through the past 48 hours.
Again, when players are encouraging each other and pumping each other up, there's nothing better, right? They want to hear from their coaches, but they really value each other. And there was a lot of belief in that locker room from player to player and a lot of conversations with those guys. Specifically, I'm not sure, some of the behind-the-scenes player-only conversations that Jazz was involved with, but I will tell you, like any player that has a season-ending injury that stays around the team, they see the game differently than when they play, and they take on a coach's role because that's the eye that they have. But the balance of when to interject, because you're no longer playing, so you're not in the war of that playing. So, Jackie, what I really appreciate about Jazz is how mature she is, what a great leader she is, but she's going to pick her places. She's not going to insert herself. She's going to let these guys really have some of their own ownership because she feels out that I'm not in the day-to-day war with them, and I'm going to be here and provide insight when needed. And she has such a maturity to find that balance, and I appreciate that.
Okay, last question, Jacqueline in the room.
Hey, Curt, before the game, you talked a lot about offensive rebounding and how that's an important part of your offense. At the half, you guys had more second chance points at halftime than you had in any game this series so far. Just what differences did you see on that part of the game and scheme, and how that kind of improved your spacing and movement throughout the game?
Yeah, it's a big part of what we do, and we got near that 30%, I believe. I think we had 9 offensive rebounds or 10 offensive rebounds and about 30 misses. So we crept towards that 30% that we value. But that was, again, an effort thing, determination to get in the paint.
And just last one, you guys had a double-digit lead heading into halftime, and third quarters have kind of been big in kind of making or breaking a game throughout the season. Just what was your message to the team, and what was kind of the sentiment for the players?
Yeah, we talked about how important the start of the third quarter was going to be. We knew that they were going to throw some punches and there was going to be some runs in the second half, and that if we could have a successful third quarter, that we would put ourselves in an incredible position to win the game. And so there was a lot of focus of segments of the third quarter, not thinking about the end, and really just concentrating on the start and how we thought, what Chicago could do adjustment-wise about the third quarter.
Thanks, Coach.